Today, we're here to brief you on the status of the border wall project. We have with us the Acting Deputy Commissioner, Ronald Vitello, who will provide the briefing. He will have some brief opening remarks and then Q&A. During the Q&A, I would ask if you would ask one question, identify yourself, and allow your colleagues to also have some time to ask their questions if they have to, okay? With that, once we've had that conversation, then we'll go ahead with one more question, and then we'll close it up. So thanks for joining us, and let me introduce you to the Acting Deputy Commissioner, Chief Vitello.
Thank you, Mike. Good afternoon, everyone. Thanks for joining us. We're going into the holiday weekend, so I know you're taking your time out to be here with us today. So I want to bring you up to date on where we are with the border wall project. A lot has happened since we last briefed you on this topic in September. The President toured the prototype structures near San Diego earlier this month, and just 2 days ago, Commissioner McAleenan briefed the President on the progress we've made, how we'd like to proceed, and given the funding that we've been provided by Congress and the President. So today, let me tell you what we're doing and what we see as the way ahead. Let me be clear, without the President and the administration's leadership and a commitment to border security, the funding for construction for these projects would not be possible. Most of you are already familiar with the prototypes built in the Otay Mesa near San Diego. Those 8 prototypes completed last October and then subjected to testing and evaluation were constructed based on input and operational needs provided by our Border Patrol agents. We learned a lot from that process. In San Diego, we're looking at 14 miles of new border wall, getting rid of old, dilapidated landing mats in favor of a steel bollard wall. We're also replacing 14 miles of secondary barrier in San Diego. In Calexico, we're on schedule and on budget to build a new 30-foot border wall as approved by the administration. This replaces 2 miles of pedestrian barrier. More importantly, we identified this need back in 2009. In 2017, the administration fought and secured for enough funding, not only for its construction, but also enough money to build it at the 30-foot height. Continuing east, we're on track to 20 new miles of border wall in Santa Teresa, New Mexico. Groundbreaking scheduled for early April. In addition, we have 4 new miles of border wall in El Paso, Texas. In the Rio Grande Valley, we're building 35 new gates along a stretch of 55 miles of existing border wall, closing critical gaps in the current infrastructure. Finally, we plan to replace at least 47 miles of dilapidated border fencing with new border wall system in various locations along the southwest border. Also in RGV, we plan to build about 25 miles of new levee wall in Hidalgo County, as well as 8 miles of new border wall system in Starr County, Texas. Border wall system provides a comprehensive solution that combines wall, lighting, enforcement cameras, and other related technology and all-weather roads to impede and deny illegal cross-border activity. The projects that I've described have been made possible by the fiscal year 2017 and 2018 funded provided by Congress, and we appreciate this down payment for our needs. The Consolidated Appropriations Act of 2018 advances critical DHS mission priorities, including the construction of approximately 100 miles of border wall system. However, as Secretary Nielsen has pointed out, it does not fully fund our needs in the most critical locations. Our agents and officers have decades of experience, and they know their operational needs. We provided Congress with a fact-based and needs-driven border security improvement plan that clearly sets out the requirements for securing the border. We appreciate what Congress has authorized and what Congress has provided, and we will use these dollars to help add important capabilities to secure the border. Finally, I want to address something that's been in the news lately, and whether our frontline operators, the dedicated men and women of the U.S. Border Patrol, want and need, and these border barrier systems are what they asked for. The report does not act. The information that we've used and the tools that we've developed and the needs that are expressed in these requirements come from the field. The U.S. Border Patrol sector chiefs and agents in the field have been vocal about their need for effective barriers to deny the entry of illegal aliens and contraband. The truth is, walls work, and the data show it, and agents know it. DHS and CBP are fully committed to a balanced investment in physical infrastructure, access and patrol roads, technology, and personnel to support critical border security missions. Thank you for your attention, and I'm happy to answer some questions. Please.
Hi, I'm Carol Morello with the Washington Post. You touched briefly a minute or so ago on the fact that there has been some press about what agents feel they need. In fact, the Democratic staff of the Homeland Security Committee said that very few people even mentioned a wall or a fence. Most people said they wanted either high-tech extra sensors or they even wanted more horse patrols and very low all-terrain vehicles, things like that. Are you saying that that is not accurate, or what?
From the operator's perspective, you need the proper mix: technology, infrastructure, and the ability to have agents. And they also have to have access to the border. So when we go down to the field and we teach them the framework for their planning for their requirements, we give them all that set of tools, and those tools reflect the problems that they want to solve and how they think they can solve them.
Is it accurate that very few of them even mention needing a wall?
I don't think that's an accurate interpretation of the data that we have. We have data that says, what is the problem that you're trying to solve? What are the risks that are present if that problem continues to exist? And what are some of the methods that they think and we think help solve that problem?
So what percentage said they wanted a wall?
I don't have that number. That's not a characterization that comes out in the reporting and the tools that we put together. When we ask agents what they want in the field, they want personnel, technology, and infrastructure. They need access to the border. That combination is a solve for whatever problems that they face.
Chief, thank you. Could you just give me a total that you just mentioned of this replacement wall? You mentioned San Diego, Mexico. What's the total new fencing wall replacement there?
The funding that's in the 2018 appropriation is about 100 miles.
Okay.
And in San Diego, it's 14 miles, but two different barriers, so 28. Okay. And then the Calexico project is 2 miles. Santa Teresa is 20. And what's authorized for Rio Grande Valley is 25 levee wall and 8 new border wall.
Just to follow up on that question, it's 100 miles of new wall versus the replacement wall. I mean, I'm trying to figure out how much of this is. Yeah, so can you sort of sort it out for us? When people think about the wall, they think about what's new as opposed to replacement.
Well, I would say that it's all new because there's a different design going in. It's replacing the stuff that is unsuitable, the dilapidated wall, this old landing mat fence. It doesn't serve our needs anymore. So I would call it all new. It replaces what isn't existing. And then some of these areas, like I think the El Paso project, it replaces vehicle barriers. So you have a 3-foot fence that prevents trucks from coming in going to an 18 to 30-foot wall.
And just to be clear, there's very little of the border where there's going to be new wall that there isn't something now, right?
There's new mileage in the priority area, Rio Grande Valley.
What I'm asking is that in those areas where there's going to be new wall, it's not like there isn't something there now that it's going to replace.
No, there's new wall in the 18 appropriation.
But there's no barrier now?
Well, there's barrier in other places in some of those same locations, but there's going to be new wall when these projects are fully executed.
Understood.
Anna Giratelli with Washington Examiner. The 8 prototypes, they were supposed to be evaluated and tested ending in late January. I know you're waiting for funding to do more with that, but where is that standing in terms of picking parts of each to use?
So the testing and the evaluation and our recognition of those attributes help us inform a new design standard, which is being constructed now. And so future projects will include those attributes that what we learned from the prototype project.
You can't say whether you're going with more concrete or different types?
It'll be dependent on the terrain and the needs we're trying to solve.
I'm Claudia with Univision. Why did the president mislead the American people tweeting old pictures of what he said is a new construction of the wall? Did you give them those pictures? I mean, why did he tweet it that? It was confusing.
I'm not sure which tweet you're talking about. What was in the media that I saw this week was the construction project that's underway in Calexico.
But he said it was a it's a new construction and it was an old project.
It's new features for the wall that they're putting in El Centro. They're replacing the dilapidated landing mat with the 30-foot bollard, which was new. Yes.
Thanks. Jill Colvin with the Associated Press. I was hoping you could get into a little bit more detail about the timeline for awarding bids and construction on both the replacement and the new sections. And also, there was some debate in Congress about the extent to which the omnibus language actually allowed you guys to be able to use the new prototype model for the new construction. Can you talk us through kind of your interpretation of that and where you feel like you're able to use the new models?
So, the Calexico project, as an example of your question, that was contracted and bid, and we had an awardee. So that style and design of wall is new. The 30-foot requirement is something that is part now of the toolkit. There's language in the appropriation that we're still considering what it means to projects this year. But the projects that I laid out for San Diego, Calexico, Santa Teresa, and Rio Grande Valley are all going to move forward.
Timeline then for awarding bids and when we expect construction to start?
San Diego is, I don't have that in front of me. It's imminent. We're constructing now in Calexico, and then San Diego I think is April. No, I'm sorry, Santa Teresa is April.
When you'd hope to start
early April, construction will start. Yeah, the other projects still need some design work, and the bids will go out for that. That'll all be resident on Fed Biz Ops. So these projects are funded. These are going to happen this year, but it depends on other factors as far as the design and then acquisition of land.
I guess a two-part question. The first is: are you able to say your review of the prototypes? What can you say? Anything you actually learned from those specifically features, or something that you will put into place, or that informed you in one way or another? And then, are you able to talk about the restriction on building and Santa Ana Wildlife Refuge in the omnibus as well?
So, as it relates to the attributes, we learned about what it takes to breach some of that structure. Each of those prototypes has a mock-up that's similar in design, and they were cut on and beat on and climbed on and dug into. And so we learned how long it takes to breach some of that structure and some of those materials. Those will all help us inform a new design standard. And so based on terrain, based on constructability, we'll use those attributes where we think they make the most sense. But there are restrictions in this appropriation. And then you talked about Santa Ana, it's the same thing. Congress decided that our priorities weren't theirs, and they moved it elsewhere.
Todd Gilman, Dallas Morning News. Can you say at this point so you're saying 100 new miles or replacement miles, we can argue about those semantics, but
it's a mix. All of the construction will be a new feature in that part of the border of 100 miles.
What is the total mileage that you want along the border?
Well, we've looked at every mile that's out there, so that it's several hundred miles. It's basically I think the top 10 projects give us double what's out there now, which is 654 miles. And that's also a combination. Some of that will be replacing the dilapidated fencing, adding new capabilities in replacing that, and then adding new wall as well.
Let me ask you a slightly different way. When all of the wall or fence building is completed that you would like to have happen, how much of the border will have wall or fence along?
Approximately 1,400 miles? 1,000? About 1,000 miles.
Right now, 654.
Is what there's current structure at 654 miles. Yes.
So the White House had asked throughout this process for $25 billion. Is that the correct sum to get this done, or is there a different cost figure that you can put on it?
That would depend on how we got the money, right? We got an appropriation of we got every dollar we asked for, but it's configured in a kind of a different way. So it depends on how that funding becomes available. $25 billion would make a big difference to those projects, yes.
Would it complete all 1,000 miles that you're talking about?
I believe it would.
Sir,
Have you been in discussions at all with the Defense Department? Would you welcome, a redirection of appropriations your way for more construction?
As an operator, we want more capability. We've done many things with the Department of Defense over my career. They're great partners with us, and so from the operations perspective, where we can add capability, regardless of where it comes from, we'd be happy to do that.
Touched on this in your opening statement, but can you respond to Congress declining to fund the hiring surge and kind of questioning the underlying need for that?
CBP is hiring. I want everybody to know that. I would like all your viewers to know that. If you go to the cbp.gov, the careers page, lots of opportunity in this organization. We're going to continue to try and meet our hiring goals and what the president set out for us as a requirement in the executive order. Congress did give us important resources in recruitment, retention, and relocation funding. So we're happy about that, and then we're going to do everything we can to fulfill the mandate for hiring.
I'm sorry, just to follow up on my line of questioning, has the president signed off on the final goal being about 1,000 miles of border being fenced or walled?
I'm not sure he's seen the entire package. I think there have been several updates I've not been involved with, but I'm not sure. That was, when you look at the immigration priorities that he put out in the framework, the $25 billion was the ask that the administration was going for. That's correct.
But that doesn't necessarily say how much mileage of construction there would be.
I just don't know. I can't speak for him, but that will make a major difference of an enduring capability for border security across the southwest border.
Can you release a map of where all these barriers would be?
I think we do have something that we're using publicly, and if we do, I'll happy to send it around.
Chief, can I follow up on that? Can you give right now that 300 or 654 miles is, I think, 354 of pedestrian and 300 of vehicle. Do you know what of the 1,000, do you know what that breakdown would be at the end of that? Or, whatever you have, pedestrian versus or levee wall, if you have that in there as well?
I'm not sure we have in the current request or the larger $25 billion. I don't think we're asking for any more vehicle barrier. I think it's all pedestrian wall.
Sorry, Chief. The Central Teresa in New Mexico, that's vehicle barrier which should turn into pedestrian barriers, correct?
That's right.
Okay.
That's 20 miles.
Okay.
That's the one that's due to start early April.
Okay.
He was the president made the appearance after signing the omnibus bill to talk about it. He said, quote, we're not going to be, or literally on Monday, he said, we're not only going to be doing new wall, but also fixing existing walls, suggesting that something new was happening, was supposed to start this Monday. Do you know what he was talking about?
The Calexico project started this week, or actually started last week.
February 21st.
The planning and such, I'm not exactly sure how long we've been constructing, but during this week, there's construction underway in Calexico.
Time for one more question.
Can I come back on the question of prototypes? And can you explain to us what your goal is with the prototypes? Will you choose one and then that will be the way the entire rest of the wall is built? Or are you saying you'll take features from each one and perhaps have a mix?
The latter, so that we've learned a lot from the prototyping process. We're grateful to have the opportunity to test some of the things that industry brought to us. It was important for the president to see that and learn what we have. We'll be able to show him what we learned. And those attributes in some of those prototypes will be part of the new design standard.
Sir, if I could, of the approximately 100 miles that you're talking about, how many are new to this administration? How many were already being planned or considered in previous administrations?
I don't think any of it was executable in the previous administration. We didn't have the funding for it or the authorization.
And if I might follow up on that, and what about from the 2006 Border Secure Fence Act during the Bush administration? Was any done then?
Well, the wall that's out there now was done under Secure Fence Act, and some of the replacements will replace that, some of the landing mat that was there prior.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, thank you for your time. We
Thank
would
you.
be happy to do after action on this. If you have any questions for us that we can follow up with you on, we'll do that. And so thank you for your time, and we'll be in touch. Thank you. We do have photos for you from the presentation, so if you need visuals, we'd be happy to share them with you.